Hello. We're looking at a new topic, which is percentages, and we will look at percentage from 5 different aspects. First of all, we'll learn how to convert from percentage to fraction and going from fraction to percentage, because this is really important. And then interconversion between decimal and percentage. And then we'll learn percentage increase and percentage decrease. Then we'll learn percentage change. And then we'll learn about percentage profit and loss, which is the business application of percentages. Okay, so these are the 5 things we're going to look at in percentages. First of all, you see a fraction, right? A simple way to interconvert between percentage and fraction is if you see a percentage and you want to convert it into a fraction, simply divide whatever the percentage it is by 100. That's it. And remove the percentage, of course. So if you have 13%, of course, I can write it as 13 over 100, right? I won't write a percentage. 37%, 37 over 100. As simple as that. 6 over 100. 92 over 100. 79 over 100. As simple as that. If you see a fraction and you want to convert it in, sorry, if you see a percentage, if you want to convert it into a fraction, simply divide by 100. Now, if you want to go backwards, if you're given a fraction and you want to convert it into percentage, simply take that number and multiply it by 100. Take that fraction and multiply that by 100. As simple as that. Okay, so for example, we have 17 over 100. Let's multiply it by 100. 100 cancels out, and you'll be left with whatever you'll be left with, that will be the percentage, 17%. Let's multiply it by 100. 100 cancels out, and you'll be left with 13%. 100 cancels out, and that'll be 90%. 100 cancels out, there'll be 125%. 100 cancels out, and that'll be 1%. Okay, and now you're given, these were pretty simple fractions because in all of these fractions the denominator was 100, but we don't have a denominator as 100 over here. But you can still do same. You'll still do the same. You have a fraction multiplied by 100. 100 divided by 4, you can work it out in the calculator. Simply multiplied by 100, multiplied by 100, and that's it. Okay. Next, write as a percentage. So you're given a fraction and you have to write it as a percentage. We're going to do nothing except you're multiplying it by 100. That's it. Okay, and you can work it out in the calculator. Okay, then we have a sort of a word problem. Let's take a look at that. So a garden plot is planted with beetroot, carrots, and lettuces as shown. How many boxes do we have in total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 columns and 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 rows. Altogether, we have 20 boxes. You can count them as well. So out of 20, what fraction of the plot has lettuces? Lettuces out of 20. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 20, I have lettuces. I'm supposed to write it as a fraction and not as a percentage. Next, what percentage of the plot has carrots? Now I'm going to convert this. First of all, I'll write it as a fraction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 20. Since I want to convert this into a percentage, I'll do it over here. 5 out of 20. Since I want to write it as a percentage, I'll also multiply it by 100. Okay, you can work it out. We'll cancel out a 0, and then 5 ones are 5, 5 twos are 10, and that's going to be 5 times 2 would be 10, 10%. Okay, 2 5s are 10. 2 5s are 10, so that's going to be 25%. 25% of the plot is is carrots. Now this is interesting. Partsy, what percentage of the plot does not have beetroot? So we'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of 6 out of 20 has beetroots, right? So the part of the plot that does not have beetroots would be 6 minus 20, 20 minus 6. I'm sorry. This is the part of the plot that does not have beetroot. And that's going to be 14. right? So I'm supposed to write it as a percentage. So I'll write 14 over 20 multiplied by 100. And you can work it out, cancel out the zeros. 2 1s are 2, 2 5s are 10. 14 times 5 would be, you can work it out and you'll get the percentage. Okay, next. A restaurant has 80 seats. 50 are occupied by diners. What fraction of the seats are occupied? So 50 are occupied out of 80. I'm writing as a fraction. What percentage of the seats are occupied? So as a percentage, I'll write 50 divided by 80 multiplied by 100. Let the calculator do the job for you. What percentage of the seats are unoccupied? So think about it. You have altogether 80 seats, right? Out of which 50 are occupied. So the rest of them would be 80 minus 50, which is 30. So I'm supposed to write it as a percentage. So I'll do 30 divided by 100. Sorry, 30 divided by 80, multiply by 100, and you can work it out by yourself. Okay, this one I can further simplify into 5 over 8. So that's that. Now we'll look at how to interconvert between fraction and decimal and percentage. So if you're given a decimal, how are you going to convert it into a percentage? And if you're given a percentage, how are you going to convert it into a decimal? The simple rule is 2 jumps forward and 2 jumps backward. So if it's a decimal and you want to convert it into a percentage, take the decimal point where it is and give it 2 jumps forward. So 1, 2, it's going to be 38.0%, or I'll just write it as 38%. Okay. Next we have is 0.93. Give it 2 jumps forward. So that's going to be 93%. Okay, 2 jumps forward. Give it 2 jumps forward. That's going to be 15%. 2 jumps forward. So I'm gonna get 31.7%. I'm giving the decimal point 2 jumps forward. I'll let you do this by yourself. Let's do this one. 2 jumps forward would be 7%. Okay, if you give it 2 jumps forward, that'll be 158%. Okay, very simple. Express as a percentage. So a test mark 17 out of possible 25. So 17 out of 25, you're supposed to write it, convert it into a percentage. You simply have a fraction, can multiply it by 100 to get the percentage. Out of 1,600 vehicles sold in a month, 250 of them were vans, right? And express as a percentage. So 250 vans out of, you had a total of 1,600 vehicles. Since I want to express it as a percentage, I will write it as I'll multiply it by 100. Okay, now let's go backwards. We saw how to convert the decimals into percentages. Let's go backwards. If you're given a percentage and if you want to go back to the decimal, how would you do that? 2 jumps backward. So if you don't see a decimal point, the decimal point is over here. Okay, let's give it 2 jumps backward. So that's going to be 0.13. Okay, 0.13. You have a decimal point over here, give it 2 jumps backward, that's going to be 0.37. Now this is interesting. A decimal point is over here at the moment. I'll give it 2 jumps backward. The decimal point would be over here and you'll get a 0 here. So that's going to be 0.06%. Be very careful about that. You can already tell this is 0.92. Oh, it's not a percent, by the way, because we're converting from the fraction, from the percentage to the decimal, right? 2 jumps backwards, so that's going to be 0.79. Okay. For percentage increase and decrease, these are particularly important. Okay, these three are particularly important because for all of these three, we're going to use a simple formula, and which will help you with all of them. You have to be very, very careful while using the formula that I'm just about to show you. The formula is, it's not really a formula, I call them magic boxes. Magic boxes. They're pretty simple once you get a hang of it. Remember the basic pattern of the box. So here's what the basic Here's what the box looks like. You'll write before, you'll write after, you'll write percentage, and you'll write actual. And before, the percentage for the before is 100. This is the magic pattern, that magic box that you need to learn. Once you learn that, all of these questions, percentage increase, decrease, percentage change, percentage profit loss, will be easy peasy. Let's see how do these boxes work. So I have percentage increase, decrease. I'll take off this box. Let's say increase $5,000 by 20%. So let's take a look. Let's use our magic boxes over here. Very carefully place the values. This 100% is already here by default. Okay, we're not going to change that. In fact, I'm not going to write a percent because this is the percentage. It's automatically assumed that whatever is in these boxes would be percentage. Now, before you had $5,000. So before the actual value was $5,000, right? I'm increasing. So if I'm increasing, which means it'll be, the percentage will be plus 20, right? So if you do a plus 20 on 100, you're going to get 120. How's that going to look like in terms of, money? I do not know. I'll call it X, because this X is something we need to find out. Okay. Once you're done placing all the values, very carefully cross multiply. Okay. So I'll multiply 100 times X. 100 times X equals, I'll multiply 5,000 by 120, right? I'll keep X here. 5,000 times 120 divided by, this 100 is being multiplied with X. When it goes over to the other side, it gets divided 100. Okay, and then you can perform the cancellation. 0 cancels out, 0 cancels out. 500 times 12, that's going to be, I believe, I don't know, $600 maybe. I'll let you work out. Okay, you can put it in the calculator and you can work out I think it's going to be $6,000 if I'm not wrong. 12 5 is 60, yeah. So if you increase it by 20%, you're going to get $6,000. Okay, let's use the same boxes in this one. Okay, let's do that. Before, after, percentage, actual. So I'm going to take off the percentage. Originally, you had $80,000. So 80,000, right? I'm going to decrease. Decrease means the percentage will now be decreasing by 12. So this will be negative 12. Okay, so once I do a negative 12, I'm going to get, uh, if you do 100 minus 12, you're going to get, I believe, 88, right? Now, how's that going to translate into actual money? I do not know. I'll call it X and I will cross multiply. So 100 times X is equal to 80,000 times 88. I'm going to isolate X, so that's going to be 80,000 times 88. 100 is being multiplied. When it goes over to the other side, it gets divided. And let the calculator do the work for you, I think. So cancel out whatever you can. 2 zeros cancel out, and you can do the rest. Okay. Right. Let's do this. Perform these operations by using, I think you'll use the same boxes. Okay, I'll make the boxes for you for A, B, A, E, and C. Okay, but I'll let you do the rest. I would highly recommend to pause the video and do it by yourself. So for part A, very carefully take a look. Increase 160, which means original you had 160 kilograms, right? Actual value was 160. And you're going to increase it by 10%. So if you increase 10% by 10, you're going to increase 100% by 10, you're going to get 110. How much would be the actual money? Actual mass, I do not know. I'll call it X and I'll cross multiply. So 100 times x would be equal to 160 multiplied by 110. Okay, x, keep x over here. 160, 110 divided by 100. Cancel out the zeros and simply perform this multiplication on your calculator, which is 16 times 11. That's it. 16 multiplied by 11. I'll let you do this on the calculator. Okay, so we did part A. Okay, I'm only going to draw this box for part B. Part C. Increase 28,500. So 28,500 was the actual amount. I'm increasing by 5%, so I'm going to do plus 5. So that's going to be 105, right? And how's that going to look like in actual? I do not know. Cross multiply, you'll get your answer. For part E, increase. Let's take a look that has a decrease. Okay, let's do part F. So you have 450 pounds, and it's the actual before it's 450 pounds. I'm going to decrease it by 18%. So if you do 18%, I think it's going to be 82%. If you do negative 18, you're going to get 82. Okay, how's that going to look like in actual? I do not know. I'll just call it X, cross multiply. Okay, it's pretty easy. So now you know how to do percentage increase and percentage decrease. Okay, let's take a look at this. Percentage, find the percentage increase or decrease in the changing from this to this. Okay, I think use the same boxes that we just learned, but very carefully place the values. Okay, and we'll do this very carefully. 120 to 150. This is before, this is after. Okay, and you can already tell that it's an increase, right? So before you had 120, after you have 150, right? What is the after percentage? I do not know. I'll call it X. Okay, now let's do cross multiply. 150 multiply by 100 is equal to, you have an X and then you have 120. 150 multiplied by 100 divided by 120. I'm going to get an X. So that's going to be, this cancels out, and I'll do this in the calculator. 150 multiplied by 10. I'll do it on the calculator. I would encourage you to take out the calculator and do it with me. 150 multiplied by a 10 divided by 12. 125%. That's what I got on my calculator screen. If you do this on a calculator, this is what you should get. Okay, I'll place it over here. So 125. Now, very carefully place it over here. This value, what I got was 125%. This is not my answer. We want to find the percentage increase, right? What is the percentage increase over here? If you went from 100 to 125, your percentage increase is plus 25. So your answer would be that there is a 25% increase. Okay, let's do this one on a similar pattern. Please do not write the final percentage as your answer. You need to work out the difference of the percentages as your answer. Okay, let's do the same. Let's use the same boxes over here. I'll have to copy these boxes again. Okay. I'm not going to change this percent and percent. Right. Before, so you went from 400 meters to 200 meters, which means there is a decrease, of course. Okay. This is your before and this is your after. So before you have 400 and after you had 250 meters. How's that going to look like in percentages? I don't know. I do not know. I'll cross multiply. So 250 multiplied by 100 and is equal to 400 times x. I'll keep x over here and I'll do 250 multiply by 100 divided by 400. Let me cancel out the, so that's that. And 25 divided by 4, 25 divided by 4 would be, let's see. So if I have 25, let's divide that by 4. We need to get 6.2. I'm sorry, 250 divided by 4. What am I doing? 250 divided by 4. That's 62.5. X is equal to 62.5. Now 62.5 is not your answer. Okay? You'll, instead of X, you will place 62.5. Now work out the change. You went from 100 and you went from 100 to 62.5. What is the change? So I'll do 100 minus 62.5 and I'm going to get 37.5. So the decrease was negative 37.5. Either do that or you could simply write 37.5% decrease. That's it. No need to write negative 37.5. Simply write 37.5% decrease. And this decrease automatically tells me that the amount has lowered. Okay. Now this is the formula for percentage profit and percentage loss. Let's take a look at that. I'm going to give you two formula for percentage profit and percentage loss. One sec. Percentage profit. This is something you need to remember. Percentage profit is equal to profit divided by cost price. Cost price means the price at which you bought something for, multiply by 100. Okay. And percentage loss is equal to loss divided by cost price multiplied by 100. Okay, these are your formula for percentage profit and percentage loss. Let's use them. Here's a question. Take a very good look at that. A microscope was purchased for $600. So that's my cost price because that's the price I bought it for. And then for 2 months later, it was sold at $450. So that's the sale price. Of course, there's a loss. You sold something at a loss, right? Because you bought it for a higher price and you're selling it for a lower price. Find the percentage profit or loss. Is not going to be a profit. This is a loss as a percentage of the cost price. So how much is the loss? Let me work out the loss first. Loss is cost price minus sale price. When you bought it for $600 and then you're selling it for $550, of course, you suffered a loss. And how much is that loss? That loss is you suffered a loss of $150. Okay. Now let's do loss percentage. So percentage loss is equal to, I'll put loss on top, I'll put cost price at the bottom, and I'll multiply it by 100. So loss is 150. Cost price was $600 multiplied by 100, and you are going to get 25%. So you sold it as a 25%. You sold it at a 25% loss. Okay, so I hope it gives you an idea about how percentages work and how to deal with all these 5 forms of percentages.